Prashant. Okay, let us start. The topic we have been discussing in the last class was self-referential structures. So it is if a structure is said to be self-referential when it is having a link, when it is declared a link of same structure type. You can see here I have declared a link, that is a pointer. When I declare a pointer inside the structure, that is I am declaring a pointer as a member of the structure, and the pointer type is the same type as a struct node. So the pointer type is the same type of struct node. So that means, so when a structure is said to be self-referential, whenever the structure contains a pointer variable as a member, and which is also the same type of that structure. Okay. So the pointer variable that is of same structure type is defined as a member of the structure. You can see here there are three members are there in the structure. In the struct node, in the structure node, there are three members are there. One is integer data 1, character data 2, and struct node pointer link. Struct node pointer link. Someone is messaging. There are three members are there as part of the structure node, that is data 1, data 2, and a pointer called link. So when I am declaring a pointer of same structure type as a member of that structure, then this structure is called self-referential structure. Okay, so that's what the definition. And here, yeah.
Sir, that means this enter data type, character data type, and link will come under that node structure, sir.
What?
Int and character and that point link is there, no, sir. That will all come to node, sir.
This is a pointer. This is a pointer. These are some variables. So integer data 1 is an integer variable, data 2 is a character variable, and this struct node pointer link, that is it is the link is a pointer of type. So the as you see these are all variable names, and these are the types, right? So like that, the same way you can also declare a pointer. The pointer should mention what is the type of that pointer. That means what is the type of addresses it can store. Suppose I am taking integer star PTR, that means your pointer PTR will take addresses of integer type. Like that, here the link pointer will take, that is it can hold the address of a struct node type. That is the meaning. The link pointer, the pointer is a link. The link pointer can store the address of struct node type structure variable. So that is the meaning. That is the meaning of this declaration. Okay, so that means the type of this pointer which we are declaring as a member of a structure. So the type of a pointer is same as your structure in which you are declaring as a member. So then that structures are called self-referential structures. So let us see one example. So here I am declaring a node with three members, data 1, data 2, and also a pointer link. A pointer called link. So this pointer link type is struct node, so which is same as the structure in which I have declared this pointer link. So then this is called as a self-referential structure. So here in the main, after this declaration in the main, you can create an object. You can create a structure variable. See here, OB is a structure variable of type struct node. So then OB will contains these three members. OB will contains data 1, data 2, and link. Three members will be there in the object OB. So that is the meaning of this. Structure variable OB contains three parts like this. Suppose object variable contains three parts like this. Suppose I'm taking like this. So here this is data 1, this is data 1, and this is data 1, and this is data 2, and this will be the pointer. This will be the pointer called link. That means, so the OB object OB is the memory allocation will be like this, and it is having three parts. First part will take the values for data 1, and the second part will take the values for data 2 what you are entered, and the third part will take an address value. It will take the address of a structure variable of type struct node. So that means it can store another structure variable of, so this address, another structure variable address is going to be stored here, so that you can establish a connection like this. If you are storing the address of a variable, means you are going to point, this pointer is going to point to that location. So that's what the meaning we have studied in the pointers concept, right? So this way, if it is this node type is same as this node, both are nodes, node type only, structure node type only, then these are called self-referential structures. That means you are declaring a pointer that is of same type as the structure type inside your structure, then it is called as a self-referential structure. So here you can see, you can understand by taking one example. Let me erase this. Otherwise it will show on every page. Yeah. So here, suppose say I am taking two objects like this. Object 1 will be consisting of three parts. One is data 1, data 2, and a pointer link. And object 2 is consisting of three parts: data 1, data 2, and a pointer link. It is a pointer location. So here I want to store this type of data, then I can define the self-referential structure like this. So here, who is that? Who is that? Mute yourself. Mute yourself. Who is this Smiley Sony? Smiley Sony. Who is this? Yoramai?
Don't know, sir. Don't know, sir.
Who is that? That's why I'm asking you. You enter your name and roll number, then only I can allow you to the class. Otherwise, who is this? How they are getting this? How they are getting the link? I am removing this person. Who is this Smiley Sony? Sias, can you respond? Sias.
Sir, we don't know.
How they are entering? How they are knowing this Zoom ID? Who is sharing? You have to put your roll number and name, then only I will allow you. Otherwise, if you are putting only name, or if you are putting some shortcut names or your pet names, I don't allow you. Okay. So roll number should be there and the name should be there. Then only I will allow you into the class. Otherwise, unnecessary disturbance for me. For whole class. Okay. So here I want to store the data in the form of these objects or nodes. These are called nodes or objects. So like this, each object will be having three parts. Two are of data 1 and data 2, and third part is of link type. That is, it can store the address. These are having the values, and this is the third location will be having the address of another node or another object. So this way I want to store. Then I can use a struct node like this. I am defining a structure node for representing one object like this. So with members as data 1, data 2, and you can take it as an integer also, data 2 also integer. And I'm defining a same type of link, a pointer called struct node type link, pointer link. So that means this can point to the next address, next location, or next object. So that's what I'm defining here. After that, I'm creating in the main, I'm creating a structure variable here. I'm declaring a structure variable OB1 for this structure node. After that, I'm accessing OB1.link. That means whatever the link is there, I'm creating it as I'm assigning it as a null initially. So null is assigned here. After that, I'm giving the values, data 1 value as 10, object 1 dot data 2 value as 20. After that, I'm creating another object called OB2 for representing this second one, and I'm giving the link value as null initially. That means this is null. In the representation of this nodes in the linked list, this is called linked list. A list of elements are going to be connected with a link. That is what it is called a linked list. So this is null. That means there is no address in that. And data 1 of the object 2 is 30. Data 2 of object 2 is 40. Like this I'm assigning. So that means here two values are there, here two values are there, and the pointer location is null. Here also null initially. After that, I need to establish a connection from object 1 to object 2. Are you looking this? Are you seeing this? Object 1 to object 2, there will be a link. So I want to establish a link. That means what is the meaning of this arrow? That means whatever the address of this object 2 is there, that is stored inside this pointer link. So that's what I'm doing here. See, I'm assigning the object 2 address to ob1.link. What is ob1.link? This is a link. Which type of link pointer it is? It is of struct node type. That means object 2 is also struct node type. So that's what I'm assigning the address of object 2 to this ob1.link, so that this connection is going to be established. Now this link part, this is a link part, link part of object 1. The link part, this location will have the address of object 2. The address of object 2 is going to be stored here, so that this arrow mark, that is connection, is established between object 1 and object 2. You can also call this as node 1 and node 2. Node 1 and node 2 in linked list. So this connection is established by assigning this object 2 address to this object 1 link. Then I can access this object 2 details from this object 1. Suppose say I want to print the data of object 2, then I can call ob1.link, ob1.link arrow operator data 1. That means when you are calling ob1.link, then whatever the address is there, that address is pointing to ob2. There it will go. It will point to the object 2. Then in that, which part you need to retrieve? Data 1. That's what I mentioned. ob1.link data 1. So when you are mentioning data 1, since it is a pointer, I have to use the arrow operator. So data 1 means, so ob1.link data 1 means whatever the data 1 value is there in the object 2, so that is going to be retrieved. ob1.link data 2 means this location will be pointed by your pointer, so that you are going to get the value. So this way, again h1, okay. So this way I can access object 2 values, object 2 data elements with the help of this object 1 link. If I am storing the object 2 address in this object 1.link pointer. So this way I can traverse from one place to Sai Chandra. This way I can traverse from this node 1 to node 2 with the help of this pointer. Okay, this is called a linked list. We are linking node 2 or object 2 with node 1 with the help of these pointers. Okay, so the self-referential structures. So if I see the output of H1, you just rename your ID, roll number followed by name. So you can see the program output here. This is a program. Don't worry, I will send this code. I have prepared all the programs in a document, and I will send the document in your group. Okay. So this is a program we have seen. So node 1 details are we are entering. Initially the node 1 link is null, that is 0, and node 2 details we have entered, and initially node 2 link also, that is pointer location, also null. After that I'm assigning the address of object 2 or node 2 to the object 1.link. After that I'm printing the node 2 details. I'm printing with the help of this object 1.link. If I am accessing printf %d ob1.data1, then I will get the 10. ob1 data 2 printf, then I will get 20. But here also ob2.data1 I will print, then I will get the 30. But with the help of the pointer I want to print. With the help of the pointer that is stored in the ob1.link, so that pointer is pointing to ob2, so that I can get this data 1 and data 2 of object 2. So let us run this program so that you will understand. So what is the output you are going to get? So this is the output you are going to get. So that means the 30 and 40, that means from OB1 link, I am accessing the object2 details. With the help of this pointer, I am accessing the object2 details. Whatever the object2 details are there, that those values I can access with the help of this pointer. So this is possible with the help of the self-referential structures only. So when you are declaring the self-referential structure, then only you can traverse from one place to another place, so that you can access these. H1, don't message. H1, don't message.
సార్ ఎవరో సార్ నా నెంబర్ నుంచి లాగిన్ అయ్యి
ఎవరతను
ఏమో సార్
ఎట్లా పోతున్నాయా వాళ్ళకి ఈ ఐడీలు?
మాకేం తెలుసు సార్.
ఎవరు మాట్లాడేది? H1 ఎవరు?
H1 కార్తిక్ సార్, ఎస్ కార్తిక్ మాట్లాడేది. కానీ మీతో ఏమంటారు మెసేజ్ పెట్టేది మధ్యలో మధ్యలో మాట్లాడేది ఎవరో సార్, నేను కాదు.
Now CS, you take the snapshot of attendance. Please take the snapshot of attendees, whatever the students are there. I am not going to allow anyone now onwards, because the time is already 20 minutes over. Okay, this way I can create a self-referential structure, and I can write a program for linked list like this. This is called linked list, so that I can traverse from one node to another node with the help of these pointers. Okay, this you remember. And the applications of the self-referential structures are the data, complex data structures like linked list, whatever we have seen, linked list, and stacks and queues and trees and graphs. And trees will be having nodes like this, parent node and then child node, like that. Subtrees are there like that, left side, right side. There are number of nodes will be there. The graphs also, nodes will be there, and there are connections between those nodes will be there. And stack is a one data structure, so that can store the elements, and also queue is also one data structure that can store the elements in the memory. So these are the applications of self-referential structures. Okay, after that we will move to the next topic, that is unions. We'll move to the next topic, unions. So here in this we will study about unions, and as well as type def, and as well as bit fields, and one more topic is enumerated types, enumerated data type, enum data type. Okay, so union is a user defined data type, which is also same as your structures, same like structure. You can pack a set of heterogeneous data types into one entity called union. You can pack a number of different variables, heterogeneous data types, into one entity called union, like as you have done in structures. So but the main difference is, as you can see here, a structure can be defined like this: struct employee. It is having three fields. Character X will take 1 byte, integer Y takes 2 bytes, and float Z takes 4 bytes. And I'm creating a structure variable E1. So the size of this structure variable E1 will be 1 plus 2 plus 4, that is 7 bytes as a total it will take, the structure variable. So whereas the union will allocate the memory in a different way. So like this, if you want to define a union, you need to use the keyword union and then the name of the union and same braces and whatever the variables you want as the members of union. You can write the variable names here. You can declare the variables inside the union, and same way as structures, you can create a union variable like this. So here you can see it is a character taking 1 byte, 2 byte, and 4 bytes. But the memory allocation will be different. The memory will be allocated for this union variable. Union variable will be only 4 bytes, because whenever you are declaring a union, the compiler will take whatever the members are there in the union. So the largest memory taking variable. What is the largest memory taking variable from this? Character will take 1 byte, Integer it will take 2 bytes, whereas float will take 4 bytes. So that means the largest one is float. So it will take that float largest variable, and that memory, that bytes of memory is going to be allocated for this union variable. So only the largest variable what you are declared inside your union, that much memory will be allocated for your union variable, and that entire 4 bytes is going to be used for storing all these values. That means the union can take at a time only one value. The union memory, union variable will hold at a time only one value. Suppose if you have entered some character value, it can store that character in the form of in this 4 bytes only. And after some time you have entered another value for y equal to some 10. So then whatever the previous value that was entered for the character variable, that will be erased, and now the y value is going to be stored inside this 4 bytes of memory. Suppose you are entering one more variable value, that is z value, you are entering some 20.2. So then again, whatever the value, previous value is there, that y value, y equal to 10 we have assigned, that is erased from this 4 bytes. And again, the z value 20.2 is going to be stored inside this 4 bytes. That means only one location will be there, and that is shared by all these variables. Only one memory location will be there, that is 4 bytes, and that will be shared by all these variables. So that whatever the recent value you entered, that is the value you will get. The previous value are going to be erased, or those are overridden. Those are overwritten by your latest updation, latest value. If you are entering y value, then character x value will be overridden. If you are entering z value, then whatever the previous value y is there, that is going to be overridden. So like that, one memory location, only the single memory location, that is 4 bytes of memory, which is the highest memory taking variable in this union, that will be shared by all these variables. Those are those are members of your union. That is the difference. So here, whereas here each individual variable will be allocated a different location, and you can store as many values as you can. But here at a time, at a particular time, the memory will be having only one variable value, only one variable value. So that is the difference. So let us see the advantages and disadvantages of these unions. As you can see, it will take less memory because it is not allocating the memory for all the variables. It is taking the largest variable declared inside the union and it is allocating that sized memory only for the union variable E1. So that means when you compare to this one, it is taking 7 bytes, but union will take only 4 bytes because 4 bytes float variable is the largest one. So that 4 bytes only is shared by all these 3 variables. So that is one advantage. And the drawback is only the last entered data can be stored in the union. It overrides the data previously stored in the union. That is the problem. That means when you are entered x value, suppose character x equal to some r you have entered, letter r you have entered. Then after that, if you are entering y, then r should be removed. Whatever the character value is there, that is going to be overwritten. And now whatever you enter the value for y, that is going to be stored in this 4 bytes. And again, you are going to store some, you want to give some value to z, then again that previous y variable value is going to be overridden. Like that, the location, the same memory location is shared by all the variables. So that is the drawback. So this session will end in 10 minutes. So that is the drawback. That means each time, at any point of time, you will be having only one variable value. You can access only one variable value which was entered latest, So the previously entered values will be overridden. So that is the problem of union. So let us understand this concept with one example. This is a declaration syntax. So you will mention union keyword and the name of the union and opening brace, the members you are going to define inside this. And this is an example: integer ID, character name, and float salary. So what is the largest variable here? Name 50, because it is taking character type. Each one will take 1 byte. As the size of this character array is 50, 50 into 1, 50 bytes. So whereas this integer will take 2 bytes, float will take only 4 bytes. So the largest memory is character name, that is 50 bytes of memory is going to be allocated. And for all these 3 variables, those 50 where 50 bytes of memory will be shared by all these three variables. Okay, let us understand the union concept with one example here. So this is one example. I'm going to store an employee details in the union. So let us see. Yeah. So this is my example. So here I'm declaring a union called employee, and there are two members are there, integer ID and character name of 50 size. So 50 bytes of memory it will take, and it will take 2 bytes of memory. So only 50 bytes will be allocated for my union variable E1. So after that, I'm giving the values for E1.id equal to 101. That means 101 is going to be stored in this ID. After that, I am giving E1.name as Sonu. So that means again the same location will be copied with the word called Sonu. So that means 101 is erased, and you are going to get the Sonu as the name inside this memory allocated, that is 50 bytes of memory. So now if you want to print these details, employee 1 ID as A1.id, employee 1 name percentage yes, E1.name. So then you will get the output like this. Let us compile this and run the program. So I have run the program. You can see here, we have entered the ID as 101, but we are getting here some garbage value. We have entered the name employee 1 E1.name as Sonu. You are getting the same name, same name. Why you are getting only one value, valid one, and the other one ID value as garbage value? Because since it is a union, only one memory location is shared by this ID and name. So whenever you enter the ID value, that is stored inside your name variable allocated address only. That is 50 bytes of memory. So that in that only that 101 is stored. After that, again when you are entered the name as Sonu, so that whatever the earlier value is there, that is going to be overridden, and this Sonu is going to be stored inside that 50 bytes of memory. So after that, you want to print the ID. So the ID is already erased. It was overridden. That's why you are getting the garbage value. You are not getting the correct value. So that's why you are getting the garbage value. After that, you are printing the name, the employee 1 name. Then you are getting the text or word, whatever you stored inside this E1.name. So you are getting the latest. What is the latestly updated variable value? The name is latestly updated. So the previously updated value is going to be overridden. That's why you are getting the latestly updated name as the correct one, and the ID which is already previously updated. So after that it is erased or overridden. That's why you are getting a garbage value. So this is the difference. This is the way I can create a union and I can store the values. Okay. So in 5 minutes it is going to close. So this will be the output. As you can see, the ID gets a garbage value because name has large memory size. So only name will have the actual value because name is the last updated one, latestly updated value. So the ID has got already overridden by this name. So you are getting the name as the correct one and the garbage value for your ID. So the difference between your structure and union is these are the differences. So we will use the struct keyword for declaring a structure, and we will use a union keyword for declaring a union. And whatever the greatest, that is the sum of all the variables memory will be the total memory for your structure variable. That means character, float, all those will be summed up, and the total memory will be given for your structure variable. Whereas this union will take the size of the largest member. The memory allocated will be the size of the largest member in that union. So memory, that is a unique storage area of location will be given, whereas here only the largest variable what is allocated, that will be shared by all the individual members. The members will be given, each member will be given a separate memory here, whereas here each member, that is each variables inside the union, will share the same location, same memory by all the variables. And value alteration, that means if you are altering any member, that will not affect any other members in the structures. That means if you are entering the ID value and name value, while you are entering the name value in the structure, that will not affect the ID value. But here in the union, if you are entering a member value, then other members will be affected because these variables are sharing the same common memory. So that's why when you are entering a value for name, the ID is going to be affected and it is going to be overridden. So that is the meaning. After that, individual members can be accessed at a time, but here in the union, you can access only one variable at a time. You can access only one member at a time. And here initialization of members. So for all the members can be initialized at once. That means several members of a structure can be initialized at once. That means you can create integer I equal to 1, I equal to 1, you can initialize, and character name you can initialize. So like that, all the members in the structure, whatever the structure members are there, those you can initialize. But here in the union, you can initialize only first member of the union. You can initialize only first member of the union. So these are some of the differences between your structure and union. Structure and union. Let us move to the next topic, type def. Type def. So it is basically, it is a keyword used for defining or renaming the existing variable type, existing data type. So the existing data type, you can rename it. That is, existing data type will be mentioned here, and the alias name or rename, new name, whatever you want to rename. So that name will be given, and you need to use the keyword type def before that. So let us see one example. Suppose I want to create a new data type called unsigned integer. I want to create a new data type called unsigned integer, so that I can make variables for this. So that I can declare like this: type def, whatever the unsigned int is there, unsigned int, these are the keywords. So after that, I'm renaming that unsigned integer as uint. That means I'm creating a new data type called uint, which is unsigned integer type. So that means after writing this, your compiler will understand that whenever that uint is used in the program, that should be replaced with this unsigned int. So after that, I can create variables like this. I can create variables A and B of integer type. That means A and B are allocated memory for unsigned integer type. Unsigned integer type. How your compiler understanding this is an unsigned integer? Because you are already defined by using this type def keyword. This type def keyword will tell the compiler that the unsigned int, whenever you encounter uint in your program, you have to replace that with unsigned int. That means it is unsigned integer. So these two variables are A and B are unsigned integers. So that is, if you write elaborately, this is unsigned int A comma B. Instead of this larger word, I can use only this uint A comma B. This way I can create new data types. This session will end in 1 minute, Amma. So don't worry, I will continue the next class. So it is going to end in meanwhile, in between. So this way I can create. Let us see one example program. So I want to create a unsigned integer data type. So I am using this type def keyword unsigned int uint. That means uint is going to be replaced with unsigned integer when you are compiling the program. So I am declaring two variables of uint type, and I equal to 10 and j equal to 20 I am giving. After that, I am printing the ij values. So that means I have created a new data type of my own data type. I am creating by using this type def keyword. So that is the meaning. You are going to get the output like this. So like that.